Hello everyone and welcome to Power Hour. Our topic today is SharePoint list item level permissions. This is a setting, an advanced setting that exists for lists, Microsoft lists, that doesn't exist for libraries. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into how to use this setting and what it does and doesn't do and some examples, and we're going to try it out. Here's the stinger. All right, so this is a setting. I don't know if you've noticed it before, if you've tried it out. It is when you go to a list and you go to the list settings page and advanced settings, it's just called item level permissions, and it's just something that you can turn on or off. So the idea is that when someone goes to the list and creates items, you can basically tailor what they can see in that list based on if they created it. So one of the first things that people want to do usually with this setting is they want to say, well, I don't want to just see the things that I created. I want to see the manager to be able to see things that people under them created, or I want the people in a department to only see certain things that the people in the department created. Well, no. All this setting does is it is based on the created by, who created something, and you can either let someone see only the items they created, or you can let them see the whole list and only edit the items they created. But that is all it is. It is just based on the currently logged in user. So anything beyond that you want to customize, there are no further customizations for that. So just wanted to kind of tell you that that was the case before we get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Get that. Let's see. There we go. And go. Okay, so here is our site. I put a link to it in the chat. This is just the site associated with the Microsoft group that you're in. And also, if you are new to Power Hour, we do this Wednesdays at 11, and we also have a Microsoft Teams that we use where we chat and have lively discussions. So if you are joining for the first time, here's our Teams. So you'll be in this Power Hour group. And then in the general channel, we have a tab for each day we do Power Hour. So here's today, 5:10. So you can watch the YouTube video here, and then be sure and click this little conversation bubble up here at the top. And then that's where we're having our chat. So you all ask me questions and have a good time, and suggestions, ideas. Everybody likes to kind of chime in. So it's a lot of fun. And it's live, so you'll never know what's going to happen. Okay, it's good to see everybody, and all the regulars and plenty of new people too. So here is the travel request list. So this is what we're going to use. This is a list we already created. So when I first, just so you'll know kind of how, if you're brand new to SharePoint, just how lists are created. When I clicked new and chose list, for this particular list, I use the travel request template. It's a little slow. And I just use this template right here called travel requests. So that's just a list in this site that we've just been doing a bunch of demos on. So it's already got a lot of good information in it. So that's why I wanted to use one that you all have already been entering information in, so that you can, we'll have more to demo when we take a look at it. So the first thing to look at to go find this setting is you go to your list and you go to this gear at the top and go to list settings. So you can see that obviously I can see everything in the list right now. Before I change this setting, I want to show you. So I have let's see. I have another user that I've logged in as, basically, so I can show you like an example of what everybody's going to see in here. So let me make sure that this setting is not turned on. Let me say read all items, create and edit all items. This is before I turn on this setting. So I can see everything in the list. I'm an owner, so I can always see everything in the list, and I'll show you we'll get to some settings as to how to determine who you want to be the owner and who you want to be able to have that role of being able to see everything in the list. So this is, I'm logged in over here as Billy Bob in a different browser window. And this is going to be like my end user that's just a member on the site. So Billy Bob can see everything. So before I turn this setting on. All right, so here is, let's go to it again. So the list settings, and it's here under advanced settings. And this whole little section right here with item level permissions. So you have two different settings. You have, do you want them to be able to read all the items, just see the items that they created and they can't see anything else in the list? And also, do you want them to be able to create and edit things? So maybe I want them, this is the kind of the most common thing, is to create items and edit items that created by themselves. So we'll take a look at all the different sort of permutations of these settings as we go. But I'm going to say I only want them to be able to read things they created and create things that they edit things they created, and to be able to create new items. So I'll change that setting and click OK. Now, again, my role on this site is a site owner. So the site owner has full access to everything. So the site owner is always going to see everything in the list no matter what. And then now I'm going to go over and log in as Billy Bob. So now that I've turned that setting on and refreshed the list, Billy Bob can only see that one item that he created. So, and he can also create another one. I'll just fill this out really, really quick and just not put anything in it, just so you can see. So he can create things, and he can see things he created, and he can edit things that he created too. So like I'll go edit this one that doesn't have much information in it. Testing 1, 2, 3, and save. And that's a form that we actually customized, and we did another Power Hour about the form editor. So that's why it looks kind of cool. Okay, so that's what it looks like from the end user. What do you all think? That's a pretty powerful setting, right? So if you ever have a solution that you're building where you just want people to be able to fill out the form and not be able to see other people's forms that they've filled out, it's pretty basic, but it's a pretty common requirement. So, but that's, all the end users would just only see their own stuff. Now, I can see everything in there again because I am an owner. Let's go look at, I want to show you before we get into just kind of trying out all the different permutations of what this setting does. Let's go ahead and I want to show you exactly, this is probably what you want to know, exactly how you can give someone that role to be the person that can see everything in that list. Maybe you don't want to necessarily make other people a site owner. You don't want them to have like full, like godlike permissions on your entire site. You just want them to be able to see everything in that list and just that one list, and kind of basically override the setting for those item level permissions. So this is going to be where you can actually create a custom permission level. And we've done custom permission levels in different demos on the site. We actually did, when we talked about content approval setting a few Power Hours ago, I turned on the content approval and we created a special permission level just for people to do approvals in that list. So one of you mentioned in the chat the concept of filtered views. Well, the cool thing about this setting is that it has nothing to do with views. It's just the data. So no matter what views the person goes to, there is no way that they're going to be able to get to any of those other items anyone else created. They do not have permissions to them. So this is like a deeper level of permissions than just filtered views, because with filtered views, even if you give them a narrowed down list that they can see in the view, they technically still have access to all the items. So that's the difference. So when I go back to this setting, it actually tells me, it gives me a little hint here. It says users with the cancel checkout permission can read and edit all items. So that gives me a little hint as to what I need to do to be able to, make it so that people can all somebody can see all those items so that they can manage those items. Maybe you have a person who's in charge of travel requests and they are the ones that need to see them all. So to get to to create a custom permission level, then I need to go to the very top level, site permissions, and then my advanced permission settings. So I went to the home page to get to that permissions screen. And then here is where, and if you happen to be on an old, like if you're still using subsites, these days, every site you create is a top level, is a site collection. But if you happen to be watching this and you're on a subsite, this setting right here for permission levels is only going to exist at the top level of your site collection, not on any subsites. So here, this is one that I created in a previous demo. So I'll go ahead, I'm going to create a new permission level. So what I want is I want all of just the members, just regular people on the site. I just want them to have contribute, which means they can add, edit, and delete. Here's my little rant that I go on about the edit permission level. Edit means you can manage the entire list and delete columns and mess with views and everything. So I usually like to give end users the contribute permission level. So when I'm giving someone this permission to allow them to see the whole list, I'm just going to take contribute and just copy it. I'll just say copy permission level. What about search? If someone can't see an item in the list, will it appear in search results? Nope, not with this setting because they do not have permissions to those other items. If you created a filtered view and someone did a search and found something that they wouldn't normally see in their filtered view, they would still be able to find those things because they technically have access to them. But this is actual permissions with this setting. So I'm going to call this new permission level, I'll call it access whole list. That's very descriptive for item level permissions demo. Okay, and then all I'm going to do to change this from contribute is I'm going to check this box that says override list behaviors. So it says discard or check in a document, which is checked out to another user, and change or override settings, which allow users to read, edit only their own items. So that additional checkbox is what I'm going to do to create this permission level. And then I'll show you how I can give Billy Bob that permission level. So now I'm still just kind of at the top level of the site. I'll go back to my trouble request list. And now I want to go to the permissions for just this list. So I go to list settings and I go to permissions for this list. Okay, so this, I'm going to reset it back to just what it would normally have just right after I create the list. So all of your lists just by default are going to look like this when you look at the permissions. And then you're going to want to give this list different permissions. So the thing that I'm about to do, technically you could do at the whole site level if you wanted to give someone access to see the whole list for all the lists in the site. But typically you just want to kind of pick and choose for like each given solution. So I'm going to this list, I'm stopping inheriting permissions. So now I can do something different with the permissions on this list. And then now there's this whole school of thought with like best practices for permissions and things like that. You usually want to apply permissions to a group of people, like an AD permission group, and just add and remove people to the group. For simplicity's sakes for this demo, don't give me a hard time about the best practices for permissions. I'm just going to put Billy in here just individually, which is not, necessarily something you should always do. Billy. And there's Billy Bob. I don't want to send him an email, but I do want to make sure that I give him this access whole list. So this is the permission level that I just created. So you have to be sure and show those additional options when you're adding that person so that you can give them that specific permission level. So you pick a person or group here, and then I share. So then I'll go ahead and just refresh this screen because it never shows it right when you add them. You just have to refresh it to make him show. Okay, so now Billy can access the whole list. So now Billy is... let's see, Steve's, hold on, let's see. aren't we going to see unique permission groups in the list permissions, one for each person who filled out a form? No, not at all. Nope. Okay. No, it's not going to create any groups in here. So now I did have Billy and just the usual, just normal members permissions, but now when I refresh it, now that I've given that access the whole list permission level, now see I'm logged in as Billy. Now Billy can see the whole thing. And then what I usually do on all my lists, and especially business solutions that I create that I don't want people to mess with, I go to the members group and edit it, and I always change them to contribute. That is just a best practice. They don't let you do it at the site level anymore. But I would like to do it at the site level, change members to contribute. But anyway, I went and did it at the list level. So now all the just regular members of this site, which is all you all that are in there, you don't have edit permission level. You have contribute, which is add, edit, and delete items in the list. But Billy now can access the entire list. So now that you've seen how to turn this setting on and what it does, and then how to set it up so that you can determine who specifically can see the whole list. Now let's talk about kind of different little permutations of that setting and what kind of different options that you have. You don't have that many options. It doesn't have that many settings, but we'll just go take a look at those. So let me go back up to my little breadcrumb trail and go back up to the list. Actually, I should have just stayed here. There we go. Settings, advanced settings. So again, this is the most common one, is to read all items and just to say only read your own and only edit your own and only see your own. So let's try letting them read all items, but only edit items that they created. And I'm going to change that. So that applies to all of you all that are in the list too. But I'm also, since I'm using Billy as my tester here, I'm going to take him out of that special permission level so that now I can go in as Billy and see kind of what just the regular members of the site are going to see. So now again, I'm the owner here. I'm logged in as me. I see everything. Now let's go see what Billy sees. Oh, hey, Joelle. Yay. Welcome. Okay, so let me zoom in on this. This is a little small. There. Okay, so now I'm logged in as Billy. Billy can create new items. I have the new button. And I can see that this one was created by Laura Rogers. I'm going to try and edit it as Billy. Oh, no. So that's kind of annoying that it gives me the edit button in the first place, that it lets me even see it and makes me think that I can edit it. So I don't really agree with, kind of how that works, but I keep losing my place here. But let's go try and make sure that I can go edit my own items as Billy. So I'm logged in as Billy. I'm editing it. And I'll go ahead and just put a start date in here and click save. So now it lets me see everyone's items, and I can go open them all and see them and look at them, filter and sort, slice and dice. But if I try to click edit and actually try to edit one, it won't let me save it. So again, I'm not really a fan of allowing them to have the edit button in the first place, but at least they can't edit other people's stuff. So that's good. All right, now let's go. Now that we've seen what Billy can do with that setting, now I'm back in as me. I know that's kind of confusing with having logging in as different users. This is one of those demos that you pretty much have to do it that way so that you can kind of see what that little test user would be seeing, what the end user would be seeing, because as an owner, I have access to everything no matter what, and it wouldn't look any different. Okay, so I have read items and then only edit my own items. And then what if I change? So I'm leaving it to read all items, and then let's see, read items that create, read all items and then none. That's a little weird. I'm not sure what that's going to do. So I'll be able to read all items and not be able to create them or edit them. That's interesting. Okay, so Billy Bob, I'll refresh it. Okay, so now refresh again just to make sure. Click the new button. And oh, so I try to create a new item and it won't let me. That's interesting. And so he can see all the items in there and he can open them up. Let's see if I can edit something. No, it gives me an error. So that's a weird, does anybody think that they would ever need that kind of setting where you want them to see everything but not be able to add or edit things? That's not the most common requirement I've ever heard. So let's go try another setting. So I'll go in as me again and go back to that setting and see what the next one is. So let's see, I want to be able to only read my own items but create and edit all items. I'm not sure how that even goes together. So I'm intrigued to see how that's going to look. So only see mine. But so how am I going to edit other items if I can't see them? I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go back to Billy Bob. This is Billy. All right, so now I've got the 2 items. I can only see the 2 items I created. And again, no matter what view that I go to, I can still just only see the 2 items that I created. And then I can edit mine. Test. Yeah, so that one's confusing because it makes it sound like those 2 settings don't really go together, you know? So that one's kind of nonsensical. Okay, let's look at again. So I'm pretty sure that if you can only read items that you created, and then you can say you can't edit any items. So will it let me create new ones? Probably not. So now it's going to be different. So now I'm logged in as Billy again. And again, I can only see my own items. Let's see if it lets me do a new one. Nope, it doesn't. Go back to refresh that. And let's see if it lets me edit my own item. Nope. So that error message is super annoying. They should just hide the edit button and hide the new button when you can't create new ones or edit them. But so in summary, let's go back to logged in as me. With this advanced setting, the most common one that you're probably going to want to use is just because all the other combinations are a little odd. Read items, they can only see the items they created, and then they can create items and they can edit items they created. So, and by default, your list is going to be read all items, create and edit all items. So I'll put it back to just the typical. So now when you all refresh that list, you should be able to just only see your own in there. Oh wait, no, did I put it back to the defaults? Let me see. I don't even know what I did. Oh, read all items. Oh, and I can create items and edit items I created, but okay, I'll put it back to this one. So that's the most common. It's too bad you cannot customize the message, the access denied message. No, I don't think so. Let's look. That's a great question. I mean, we can kind of poke around and see. Lisa said, so the read access setting overwrites the create and edit. Yes. Yes. If you set it to read only your own, even if you have it with the ability to edit other people's, you can't see them, so you can't edit them. So it's weird. All right. So having to do with the permission, you don't have permission error. Now there are things that you can do with getting permission to things, like add a custom message to the request access page. The thing about this is the message for people wanting access to something they don't, like a list or library or site that they don't have access to at all. But that other error message that we just got was basically like, you're not allowed to edit this. And so there isn't really a way to request access to something that's just like a permission that you can't do at all, that nobody can do. So it doesn't have the box saying, I want to request access to it. It just says you don't have permission. But this is where typically you could edit that request access message. Or correct me if I'm wrong. So let's see. Oh, Steve said I'd like to test the search once this is set up to see only your own stuff. So yeah, let me make sure I see. So now I have it. Now the thing about search is the search index. So the search index, you have to wait like 10, 15 minutes for it to be indexed to really see like the true result of what your search is going to look like. So, but I can just try it out. Let's see, I've got this item called Lana Team Meeting, and I'm in here as Billy Bob. Let's see. Obviously, it's not going to show it to me in this list. Let's go back up to home and see if I type in Lana. So it says Atlanta team meeting. So it's showing in the results. And again, probably because the search index hasn't fully refreshed yet, but then I don't have access to it if I try to click on it. So it's just showing in the results because I'm just doing this too soon after I turn that setting on. But they see it in the result, but they still can't click on it. So, but with that setting turned on, they wouldn't even see it in the results, just as if it was like a site or list they didn't have permission to at all. So what do you all think? Any other questions? That was a pretty quick one, pretty simple, but pretty powerful, right? So this is going to be great so anytime you're creating any kind of form that you want people to fill out and submit, this is just another option you have. So another option you have for people to fill out a form and submit it and not see anything else on the list is just to basically give them a Microsoft form. Because with Microsoft Forms, they're all only ever one way. So if you created a Microsoft form, you could give anybody the link to it and they could fill it out and submit it. And you could have, and we've done this in other Power Hours, and you could have a flow that takes the data that they submitted, and then you'd still have to separately create a SharePoint list for it to put the data in the list, but the people filling out the form wouldn't have to have access to the list at all. So, yeah, that's a good solution. Lisa says, what about the search setting and advanced settings? So another thing that you can do is if you have this other scenario that I was talking about with just like creating filtered views, like here's a filtered view called My Items, and it's where assigned to is equal to me. So that's a filtered. So if you created only filtered views in your list and maybe narrowed it down for people to only be able to see their own stuff, they'd still be able to, in search results, they'd still be able to see other people's stuff. But let me go to the settings as me. Billy doesn't have access to the settings. In the list settings, another advanced setting is that search. Allow items from this list to appear in search results. So you could change this to no. So then basically, though nothing in this whole list would show up in search results, even stuff that you have access to. But I'm pretty sure there are other ramifications to doing that as well. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't think it affects too much. I think maybe it would affect like if you had built some sort of custom SPFX, like custom apps or something like that in your site, it could affect them negatively. But this is a good just kind of general thing to know about if you have stuff in your list that you don't want people to find in search results. Like if you create a SharePoint list and you create a standalone Power App that interfaces to that list, but you don't want people going to the list and you don't want people finding things in the list, you can just change this to no here. And that way people wouldn't be able to just accidentally find things in search results that exist in that list that you don't necessarily want them going to. Sean says, what if you want to open the email draft with the attachment not immediately send it. I'm not sure, Sean, what you're referring to. We haven't said anything about email, so maybe that question has to do with something else. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. That was a pretty basic, pretty quick little just setting and concepts. So go back over to here. So thanks everybody for coming, and check out iwmentor.com for all of our SharePoint training and Teams, Power Apps, Power Automate. I have a new Microsoft Lists training course that I'm going to be adding to that just this week. I'm wrapping it up, finalizing it. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks everybody for coming. It was good seeing you. Thanks for